Today it's time for a best of 5 series of professional StarCraft 2, and what I've got for you is a best of 5 between the two highest ranked players from North America. Spawning here in game number 1 in the bottom left-hand corner of Ice and Chrome, playing with the Red Zerg drones from Canada, we are looking at none other than Scarlett's main base. Her opponent in the opposite corner from the USA, already sending out one of those cheeky boys to watch the other side of the map, probably looking to block that Zerg hatchery from going up. Playing with the blue Protoss probes, we have none other than Neeb. Alrighty, so here we go. Now, it feels like I've been casting a lot of Protoss games over the last couple of weeks, and truth be told, I am really liking all of the strategies that Protoss players are going for recently. I mean, I was literally just now casting a Zerg versus Terran between Innovation and Rogue. I mean, two of the highest ranked players in the world, but honestly, like, truth be told, that series was kind of boring. I mean, despite the fact, obviously, that they're both absolutely phenomenal at playing Zerg versus Terran, it feels like the matchup itself has become a little bit stale, in the sense that Terran players, I mean, they used to open up with mech, and they used to go for battle cruisers, and they used to go for a lot of different builds. These days, it's become clear that the triple CC into, you know, Marine Marauder Medevac is just simply the best way to play, and I don't know, it's all become kind of the same, you know? I mean, obviously, Zerg players do transition usually into Mutaling Bane. There's a little bit of variety with Roach Ravager, which is what Rogue ended up playing as well, but it's just become a little bit more boring. And at the very least, when it comes to the Protoss build orders, now that they've nerfed the Baneling in this matchup, and then also obviously buffed up the Void Ray, it's been really cool to see some of the new strategies flourish as well. So I hope you don't mind. I hope you don't mind that I'm posting a couple more Protoss games at the very least recently. Anyhow, here we go. I'm excited to see where this is gonna go. Now, also, by the way, when it comes to ZVT, earlier this week, I ended up casting Maru versus Serral, so if you haven't seen that game yet, I'll go ahead and post a link to it in the information box in the top right-hand corner of this video. And also, obviously, I'll post a link down below in the description, but everything kind of pales, you know, in comparison to those two players. Anyhow, here we go. Cybercore is just about to finish up Pylon inside of the main base. I'm assuming, judging here by the gas count after starting up the Adept, that this is going to be a Stargate opener. Warp Gate also has not begun yet, so there should be a Stargate. There it is. Now, I'm curious to see if Neeb is going to go straight into that Void Ray as well. A couple players have been going Void Ray first recently, and I like it a lot, man. It's been really cool. Interestingly enough, it's not that long ago, like maybe like 3, 4, 5 months. Or 3, 4, 5 months ago, that is, I was complaining quite a bit about Zerg versus Protoss being stale, kind of like Zerg versus Terran is a little bit right now. At the time, everyone was going for that Adept opener, or like a, you know, a double Oracle opener, but it pretty much always led to watch Archon, Immortal, Zealot, Storm, and I don't know, it was kind of just the same game every single time. Zerg players would go Roach Ravager into Roach Ravager Ling Bane, and after you've seen one, you've kind of seen them all, you know, and that's, in a way, right now, the way that Zerg versus Terran feels to me as well, but I don't know. I guess that's me, you know, by the way, it's going to be an Oracle first, but I think that's me saying that I'm in favor of significant balance changes every year, like we've seen over the last couple of years. I really do hope that they once again decide to do a big overhaul at the end of 2020 as well, or maybe like early 2021, after the competitive season wraps up, just to like keep the game fresh. Let me know what your thoughts actually are, right below in the comment section of the video. Would you like them to do like a big balance overhaul as well, once again? Anyhow, there we go. After the Oracle, we do indeed now see a Void Ray coming up. So the Phoenix, well, it used to be the dedicated Overlord Hunter. I mean, apparently the Overlord is going to be hunting for its own grave here. A little bit sad in that regard, but it does now see that a Void Ray is coming up. Oracle, in the meantime, has flown across the map. Scarlett very greedy here. Super late Spore Crawler, but ooh, nice little bit of defense there. Only a single kill there on that Oracle. Little bit of misclicking, I think, there by Neeb. Probably could have gotten a second worker, but the two queens are indeed on the job. Someone who wasn't on the job here for a little bit is going to activate that prismatic alignment, so the Void Ray here indeed will be killed. Robo Facility is a follow-up. So we've been seeing, once again, man, this is so greedy. Come on, Scarlett. Super greedy Spore Crawler there. Alright, well, it's only 2 additional worker kills, so maybe I'm the crazy one here. It feels like those should have been started off a little bit sooner. Anyhow, it's been interesting to see the transition from here, right? So obviously the early game, it's mostly been the same for ZVP, at the very least in macro games. But then the follow-up from here is rather interesting. So Protoss players have the option at this point to just go straight into Skytoss. I think one of the things that I really like about that, when you go for multiple Void Rays, is that you're kind of forcing the Zerg player into Hydralisks. And at the very least in my own ladder games, I've been really struggling playing Hydralisks. It just seems that Protoss has like a gajillion different units that like counter Hydras. I mean, from like Storm to Zealots to Colossi to like Archons. And there's like lots of different units that are really good against Hydralisks, and I think that's one of the reasons why I'm such a big fan of these Void Ray openers. They force Zerg into a unit that they don't necessarily want to play too much of. Maybe Scarlett does, I don't know. A little bit ago, we actually also saw Scarlett playing a really good game. I think that was against Neeb too, actually. Anyways, she ended up going for a super late game focus. Oh my god, did that thing just disappear? That was weird. Anyways, she ended up playing Swarm Host as well in this matchup, which is another reason why I really wanted to go ahead and check out this series. Anyways, so there it is. Hydra then comes up as well as a Baneling Nest. Hydraling Bane obviously was the standard a couple of years ago. However, that's a couple of multiplayer balance patches ago as well. Hydras at the time had their upgrades merged. I think they also had 10% more attack speed. Banelings used to deal twice as much damage, pretty much, against Archons in particular. So I don't really know exactly how good Hydraling Bane is going to work out. She is going for the missile upgrade, so it does indicate to me, yeah, that she probably wants to transition here towards maybe like a Hive and eventually Lurkers here too. Anyhow, here comes a nice little timing attack from Neeb. This is a bit of a sentry-heavy army at this point. Guess that's why the Banelings are here. There's still centrifugal hooks coming up, so I guess Scarlett does want to at least make a couple of Banelings. I like this quite a bit. This reminds me of an old-school way of playing, so the 4th base will certainly be cancelled. Scarlett sitting there at 69 workers. Comfortable at 3 base eco. Is there going to be enough right now, though, for the Zerg player to actually clean this up? This is a little bit odd at this point. Beautiful, oh my god, beautiful force fields here as well by Neeb. I think Scarlett was misreading this. This is not a full 3-base Protoss army at all. This is, for all intents and purposes, a 2-base all-in with a 3rd Nexus. I mean, that 3rd base is just, you know, partially saturated at this point. And wow, just like that, game number 1 is over. Alrighty, so, Neeb decided to go for an attack that was a little bit of an anti-timing. So this happens quite a bit at the competitive level in SC2, where the perfect timing attacks, so usually timing attacks are based off of upgrades finishing up or structures finishing up, or, you know, say like you hit your +2/+2 as Terran. Usually that's also the moment where you max out. You go for what we call a timing attack and you try and win the game at that point. However, over time, obviously, since players play against those build orders 1,000 times, like literally, they know exactly what they need to do to go ahead and defend against those kinds of strategies as well. Neeb went for what we call right now a bit of an anti-timing, where it seemed like he wasn't actually finishing up anything important. He had like half a base saturated over at the 3rd as well. It's a bit of a strange situation to be in, but it worked out just barely there. Nicely done by the Protoss player. Once again, forcing that 3rd base here rather than a natural. If you're a Protoss player, please don't do this. Zerg players hate it, okay? So, I mean, I'm just making a call right there for my fellow Zerg players out there. Kinda sucks to be forced to take your 3rd base rather than your natural expansion instead. Obviously, this does come at a bit of a cost as well for the Protoss, because they're forced to send that drone out super early. Or sorry, that probe out really early, just to block the drone from making that expansion. Doesn't really matter too much at the pro level though. Scarlett will probably be forced to make an extra set of Zerglings just to defend against the very first Adept. But other than that, it's not really gonna be all too consequential. Alrighty, so Nexus comes up on the low ground after that gateway. I mean, I'm a big fan of building a hatchery right here in the wall and all that, you know, crazy shenanigans. Generally speaking though, we shouldn't really expect those kinds of build orders here from these two. I mean, Scarlett for a while, she was cheesing a lot. She was going for a lot of very cheesy builds. I remember, I think it was Scarlett versus Rogue in the GSO Code S, and she just cheesed over and over and over again. A little bit of a nasty series, but I mean, it won her the day, so I guess it's worth it. She does it every once in a while though, but it seems like recently, once again, she has gone back to just playing that good old macro style instead. Now look at that probe. Pretending it's the commanding officer of these drones, leading it towards a newly acquired base. Neeb very well knows, obviously, that the queen is going to be spawning there in a little bit. And he probably needs to get out of here if he actually wants to stay alive for a little while longer. Alrighty, so Scarlett gonna go for that Zergling speed. Pulled all 3 drones out of gas. Kind of interesting. Most of the time we seem to see 1 drone left in gas there for a little bit longer. I guess this allows it to get the 3rd base up a little bit quicker without any chance for like a, you know, an adept to potentially delay that. Once again, will be that Stargate follow-up. It is important for a Zerg player to roughly figure that kind of thing out. So obviously you can usually figure that out by either losing this Overlord to a flying unit or by just simply seeing the structure. So this is just a nice little way of, you know, figuring out what's going on. Now already, look at that. The Stargate is rallied on this Overlord. So, oh, well, never mind. Oh, no, never mind. Never mind and never mind. I was going to say, maybe it is going to be an Oracle then if Neeb decides to re-rally. But no, it is going to be a Void Ray first. So, I have seen some Phoenix play recently. Phoenixes used to be the one that you made, or like the unit that you made to get rid of these Overlords around the map. Void Ray is obviously way more helpful. We do still see Phoenix as part of like a double Stargate opener. Obviously Phoenixes are a little bit cheaper as well than these Void Rays. So usually you will still see them being utilized as well every once in a while. But yeah, I like the idea of going for a Void Ray, then into an Oracle. Okay. So I hope we're not going to be seeing the same exact build from Neeb every single time, because obviously Scarlett is going to be fully aware of that. Last time around he went for the Robo, so we'll see what the follow-up here is going to be. An additional Queen is coming up, so that's going to be the 5th one here for Scarlett. Usually we see 5 Queens in this matchup at the very least. So 5 Queens is a just a nice healthy amount to also get rid of those adepts and to make sure that you can actually save some energy on some of them if you need to get transfuses, to make sure that you can spread some creep. And there it is, by the way. 2nd Stargate and a Fleet Beacon. Okay. Alrighty. I'm excited to see where this is gonna go. Wasn't it Neeb that went for like this weird... What was it? Like a 2-carrier timing attack? I feel like I casted a game. Where he went for like a 2-carrier timing attack. I think it was him that did that. Anyways. Oracle in the main base. Sorry, I missed that one, but it got 3 kills. Man, Spore Crawler positioning has become so odd. What is this? Why not just put it in the middle? Like, I understand the idea of why it's here, but like this seems like such an inferior spot because the entire top section of the mineral line is super exposed. I guess if you can zone the Oracle away properly, it doesn't really matter. There it is, by the way. A carrier is coming up, and there's the 2nd carrier. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so I'm excited to see what Scarlett is gonna do from here. So, as she sees those carriers, right, what are her options? So when it comes to units that Zerg has that shoot up, there's the Corruptor, there's the Mutalisk, there's the Hydralisk, and then there's the Queen, right? Now obviously you have some supportive spellcasters as well that are very helpful, like Vipers and like Infestors, but just like those 2 units, I mean, you don't really see them until in the later stages. The same can be said for the Corruptor. So the Corruptor is very good at just like, this is great by the way, like Neeb is zoning away to make sure that he's cleaning a path for these carriers to go across the map unscouted. I think they're being rallied straight across. Yeah, I love it. Twilight Council and Forge is coming up, so he'll probably make some gateway units as well. But anyways, it seems to me that your main option is Queens or Hydralisks. What is this? This is so fun. Alrighty, I'm glad I'm casting this series. This is nice. I don't know exactly what your alternatives would be. Now, personally, like I said, I don't like playing Hydras very much because it seems like Protoss has 17 different units to deal with it. Now, there we go. Scarlett is just sending out some Zerglings, so this is nice. Hydra then starts up right away. 2 additional Queens start up right away as well. Queens are already waiting over at what is the 4th base, but honestly, can 5 Queens, even with Transfuse energy, or 6 Queens, I guess, can they take on 2 carriers? I actually don't know. There we go. Nice little bit of target firing here by Neeb, making sure that those interceptor ships are going after the 1 Queen in the front first. Now that the transfuse energy is gone, I mean, the interceptor ships are slowly falling. The question is always, like, do you target the carrier or do you target the interceptors? I guess with the Spore Crawler joining in right now and most of the interceptors gone, yeah, Scarlett is going to be able to keep this base alive, which apparently is worth losing, like, I don't know, 3 Queens over. 10 Hydras are coming up, but already, look at that. Neeb knows very well that this is forcing Zerg to go into those Hydras, so there's the Templar Archives. So this is, I feel like, the real strength of Stargate openers right now. It's the fact that you force the Zerg into Hydras. The problem that I always run into is that Hydras are really, really bad off creep. Now, maybe Scarlett can show us a way to do it, but at least in my own games, whenever I move off creep and I don't have Vipers and I don't have Lurkers, right? Whenever I move off creep, I always lose them. Maybe that's because I'm not the best micro player, but it seems like Hydras can't really be used very effectively off creep. At least in my own games, until you get Lurkers out and until you get Vipers out. Meaning that when you go Hydras, you're kind of allowing Protoss to do whatever they like for, you know, at least a little while. And then all of a sudden, they have that maxed out Skytools army, and I'm not a really big fan of that either. So, I'm excited to see here what Scarlett decides to go for. Maybe she can show me something here that I'm going to be able to incorporate in my own game here as well. So, she's getting full 4-based, by the way, this is so cool. Like 2 carriers, keeping this entire Zerg army occupied. So, she's going full 4-base eco. She's going for double upgrades in the Evo chambers, and she's going for the Hydra upgrades. Where exactly is she gonna take this from here? Is she just gonna max out and go for an attack? See, the problem that I would run into in my own games against this is that I would take one big-ass storm to the face, and then all my Hydras die. Rumor has it if you blow at a Hydralisk, it just dies, because it's got like 5 hit points. Okay, now that's obviously a little bit of Zerg bias coming out. I'm just excited to see where this is gonna go. Now, the entire Zerg army has been spotted here on the right-hand side. Scarlett is basically maxed out. Lurker Den is coming up. There's the first storm. Oh, man. Yo, please show me how to do this, Scarlett, because I am so lost against this. Okay, so, once again... doesn't this suck for Zerg? I mean, she's... Oh, fuck. She's still standing there. Okay. Well. I was excited to learn something today. No, it's not quite done yet. She's still rallying in more units. Actually, she's going for a reinforcement right now of roaches. Lurker Den is coming up. There is an infestation pit to go into Hive as well, but it kind of looks to me like Scarlett wants to see if she can close out this game right here, right now. The shield battery overcharge has already been forced as well, but there's still plenty of storms available. Couple additional photon cannons here coming in from the right as well. She is going to split up her army, it looks like, to maybe force some additional attention there on those High Templar. It comes down to the storms, though. Like, if the storms are bad, that's not a great one. That's a decent one. But if the storms are bad, this becomes a very difficult army to take on. Well, you know what? This is not bad at all right now for the Protoss, or for the Zerg player, I don't think. Protoss player actually decided to warp in a couple of units on the other side of the map. I wonder if that's a misplay. I think that's a misplay, to be completely honest with you. Like, that's nice and all to have some counter pressure going on, but if you can't defend against the Zerg units at home, you're gonna be in a world of trouble. There we go. Okay, so Scarlett. Okay, I'm taking mental notes here, man. I am in these games all the time. She decided to go for the double Evo right away, queued up additional queens, went Hydro Den right away, and then pushed as soon as she maxed out. So it wasn't really a timing attack based off of upgrades, but that was a timing attack, I guess, based off of, like, having a lot of stuff. Still felt a little bit dicey there to me, especially this fight here on the right-hand side. Maybe that's also the reason why Neeb decided to, you know, warp in a bunch of units. But I think there might just be too much Zerg here, right? She's just set the rally point across. Prism in the top left-hand corner gets sniped as well, and with that, Neeb decides to tap out. Okay, nice. Alright, now, I know there's going to be a couple of Protoss players watching this, and they're like, oh my god, Loko, really? It's so easy. All you make is a couple of Hydralisk, and then you attack, move across the map. Where's the struggle in that? I'm glad to feel a little bit of inspiration again, because I've honestly really been lost in that. The problem I personally run into is that whenever I go for that unit composition and then I go for an attack, generally speaking, I get stormed to death, or there's like a Colossus or something along those lines, and then I just kind of die, right? I guess Scarlett just tried to deplete the storms and then came in from multiple different angles, and she managed to overwhelm it. I'm still a little uncertain on whether or not Neeb should have warped in those zealots in the top left. I think hindsight probably shows us that that wasn't a great idea. I think if those zealots were at home, maybe there was more of a chance to defend that. But at the very least, it kind of inspires me a little. Because the problem is, if you don't attack at that point as Zerg, Protoss is going to be able to max out, right? Protoss is going to be able to max out on Skytools units with Psionic Storm and Archons underneath. Now, at the tippity top of the skill level, apparently if you're Raynor or Serral, right, and you have like 800 APM, late game Zerg is definitely very playable against Protoss. But if you're someone like me, and you can only muster up a measly 400 or 500 actions per minute, you're just too slow. Like, seriously though, I feel like in the late game for Zerg versus Protoss, when I'm microing Infestors and Vipers and Corruptors and Spore Crawlers and Brute Lords and Queens, I feel like I'm too slow. I feel like I need to have 600-700 APM, and I don't know, man. It's been really tricky, so I'm trying to make sure the games don't go there. Apparently, Raynor recently said that he actually thinks right now, since the most recent changes, especially to the Tempest, that apparently he thinks late game ZVP is actually now in favor of Protoss. Ooh, nice snipe there actually by Scarlett. Anyways, I have yet to see that. I mean, the fact of the matter is that Zerg is still winning pretty much all tournaments out there. So, you know. I don't know, man. Especially, obviously, Raynor has been very, very successful recently. But I'm excited to see what Protoss player is going to win the next tournament. Because it's been a while. I'm actually trying to think, like, when is the most recent tournament that, like, a premier tournament that is, that was won by Neeb, or sorry, by a Protoss. I think Neeb was probably the winner of, what was it, like DreamHack Spring North America, which is technically considered to be like a, you know, a premier tournament, I think. I don't know, I might get this wrong, but I mean, obviously there's very, very good players outside of North America. So I don't know if that's the best representation. At the very least in, like, you know, actual, like, worldwide events where everyone can participate. I'm pretty sure it wasn't until, like, Assembly last year. Yeah, it's been a while since a Protoss player won a premier event, man. That, like, actually really counts. I mean, not to say that Neeb's one doesn't count, but I'm just saying, you know, if it's only, like, regional based and it's North America, the best Zerg players and the best Terran players just don't live in, you know, North America. That's not me throwing shade. That's just the fact of the matter, right? Anyways, it is gonna be an Adept opener here. So this is the classic, the build that we have seen a lot. Now, beautiful scouting here by Scarlett. This is super important. She sees it right away. She sees the chrono there. She sees the timing of the gateway. She knows exactly what she is going up against right now. Neeb could go ahead and play a bit of a mind game here, which I am a big fan of. Just simply knowing your opponent has seen this build order can already kind of allow you to not commit too much to the build order, because Zerg is going to have to respect it. If you don't respect this Adept opener, you're in a world of trouble. So there's the Roach Warren coming up at 3.5 minutes. Super early. In contrast, normally we don't see that one until about 4:30 in a standard macro game. So that's a full minute earlier. So this is going to be 5 Adepts, 6 Adepts. Okay. Is that how much he's gonna make and then just make a third base? I wouldn't mind it. Okay, so it's gonna be 5 Adept pressure with like 1 Adept in the wall. Already a lot of Zerglings are being produced. Scarlett is only at 38 drones. So this is what I mean. Like, the damage has already kind of been done. There it is, double Stargate as a follow-up. Okay. Neeb is playing some really nice StarCraft here. Yeah, so this is a shade backwards. Look at how much damage has already been done here. I know there's no actual worker kills. But, yeah, it's still really neat to see. Now, Scarlett actually still has this cheeky Overlord going around the perimeter. Obviously, there's no anti-air unit, right? So, once again, I mean, is he going to shade back? I think he's going to... Oh, no, he's going to shade forward this time around. This is actually maybe an overextension? Yeah, this is forcing out more Zerglings. Oh, wow, he actually commits. I don't know if I like that, to be honest. Yeah, maybe he can just run away. Yeah, if the Zerg player doesn't engage, he can kind of just run away. Okay. So 14 drones right now, right away. Honestly, though, after those 14 drones, or I guess after like 9 drones, we still see an even eco. I would have loved to see the third Nexus here already. So, double Void Ray as a follow-up here. Okay, then. He's actually going to save him up as well. Scarlett has no idea about this. The third Nexus is the only thing I don't like about it. It's kind of late. Like, the third Nexus is very helpful to have, obviously. And, yeah, it's just late at this point. Once again, in case you are curious, the normal time is between 4 and 5 minutes. I don't know why Neeb decided to show that. I feel like that's a misplay, to be honest. Yeah, why did he show the 2 Void Rays there? Could have just done that with 1 Void Ray. Okay. Anyhow, we'll see how Scarlett decides to respond here. So, once again, it's straight into Hydra then. Is she going to go double Evo here as well? I'm actually curious to see if she's going to go for a similar response in this game as she did in the previous one. Obviously, Hydra Lurker Viper is phenomenal. Really good unit composition. A little bit difficult to control, but... Here come the queens. This is 4 Void Rays, though. I mean, 4 Void Rays is scary. Losing about half the shields there on one Void Ray by killing 1 Roach. I'm not a huge fan. There's still additional Void Ray production. We are gonna go up to 8 Void Rays and how many Adepts? 16 Adepts. Scarlett once again sitting at 69 drones. Apparently that's alright. That's very nice, not gonna lie, that's very nice. Queens and Roaches against Void Rays and Adepts. 2020 StarCraft is cool. Now, with this many Queens though, and now the Hydra follow-up, I don't actually mind this too much here for the Zerg player at all. Notice as well how conservatively Scarlett is playing. She hasn't even started up a 4th base yet, which I think is another thing that I'm going to take away from this series. I tend to be kind of greedy about my 4th base. She's been maxed out on 3 bases for a little while. But I guess just defending is more important. Not taking damage here is more critical. Alrighty, so... There's the... Ooh, okay, nah, she was thinking about getting the 4th base up. She's going to be able to max out here very shortly. It's only about 40 supply until max out. I'm curious to see if she once again will go for that Roach Hydra push. Because the Queens are going to be able to defend at home quite well. Void Rays haven't really done anything. +1 Flyer, by the way, is coming up here for Neeb. So additional gateways as well. So it will be once more a pretty standard follow-up. Ooh, here we go. The big beams. Ugh. Just barely not going to be enough there to kill that hatchery. I like that foresight as well, actually, by Scarlett, going for the lair in the natural instead of the main base. Obviously, losing the lair is very critical. Making a hatchery again kind of sucks, but not the end of the world. A couple Queens, apparently, are now joined by the Hydras, too, so... Only a handful of Hydralisks. Oh, that's a misplay. Oh my god, that's a misplay. That's 2 Void Rays. So, I love the theory of Neeb's play here, but... The execution is a little sloppy so far. Can I be critical of pro gamers like that? I think I can, right? Losing a bunch of... Like, I like the Adept play. But losing 2 Void Rays there for free is certainly a little bit shaky. And then, as far as, like, the actual damage goes... I mean, obviously really well defended there by Scarlett. But those Void Rays haven't really done anything. And there we go once again. So Scarlett essentially going for a maxed out push once more. Infestation Pit's coming up. She is going for a double Expo at this point as well. But this is basically a 3-base maxed out Zerg army. Let's see how this goes. It's a good force field there. Ooh, nice corrosive balls too. Honestly, I feel like there might just be too much Zerg. I mean, at this point, like, in contrast to the previous game, there's no storm, there's no splash damage. The 2 disruptors are coming up here. Obviously, these Immortals don't mess around against the Roaches in particular, but they're kind of shaky against all of those Hydras. And at this point, I mean, ooh, there's... Oh, Disruptor just gets rallied to its grave! Yeah. This is a tricky scenario. I mean, once again, big reinforcement of Roaches. Nice Disruptor hit over there, so that's at least worth something. I mean, the 3rd base is held. The reinforcing Zerg units are coming up. Once again, another Disruptor there gets killed. Probes are pulled away from the mineral line. I think that Neeb is going to be able to hold this eventually. Keeping the Immortals alive, very important. Zerg units in the main base will be cleaned up as well. 11 probes going down here in total. Once again, nice Disruptor hits, and he does stabilize. Okay. I still really like that push. That push was... Yeah, that push is certainly something that I am going to be incorporating into my own play. I feel like that's one of the missing keys in my game. Because I tend to max out then on Roach Hydra at like a little bit of a later stage because I'm droning the 4th base earlier. So if you're at that point, like in the mid game, right, you're kind of stuck on Roach Hydra. You can't really do much with it anymore. So I really like the fact that Scarlett decided to trade out that army right now before that point. I didn't, by the way, intend of starting this casting today. You know, the intention of this cast wasn't for me to go to school, is what I'm trying to say. But I'm glad to pick up a little bit of knowledge here and there along the way, right? Hope you guys don't mind. All right, Lurker Den coming up. Hive is coming up. Now, I do like the fact that Neeb is already making the transition towards Disruptors. Obviously, this was a significant loss. Any follow-up push has basically been thwarted as well, because there's really no way that Neeb is going to go for an attack here anytime soon. But he can still try and go for the Protoss Death Ball, right? I think that's one of his main options. The problem is, however, for Protoss at this point is that Zerg is going to be completely left to their own devices. And look at that. There were 6 Vipers there on the production tab. I think she actually cancelled 1 or 2 and then remade another one. I'm not sure what happened there. But 5 Vipers are going to be coming up. I don't know if I like this push here too much from Neeb. I think he's just doing a little bit of spring cleaning of the creep, though. Yeah, I don't think, like, I don't think he can really do very much here. Lurker Den is a little bit late, but I mean, generally speaking, Disruptors counter Hydra and Lurker, right? They're really good against Hydras and Lurkers. However, the problem is that they really suck against Vipers, because the Vipers can abduct the Disruptor, which will cancel the Purification Nova. So, assuming Scarlett micros correctly, I love the addition here of those... nicely done there. He still gets a couple of roaches at the very least. But I like the addition here of the Vipers a lot. It makes sense to rush those out over the Lurkers. The thing is, this is not an army that's even, like, you know, really maxed yet, because Zerg is still getting the Lurkers. I'm pretty sure the additional roaches right now will be, you know, eventually lost and then replaced with Lurkers. And what exactly are you going to do at that point if you're Neeb? Because the Vipers can do so much damage. Well, sniping one of them is really nice. Attempting some Disruptor hits is also nice, but that almost felt like a little bit of desperation there to me. Scarlett is hunting. Not unnecessarily moving up the ramp there. Here comes the Blinding Cloud. Here come the abductions. And there we go. That's a whole lot of Disruptors out of the equation. Yeah, this is Neeb up with his back against the wall. I know that the supply counts still look really good for him. Maybe he can capitalize on this and try and, like, push before any Lurkers can be morphed in, but I'm starting to become a little bit worried. This is a big Zerg, or sorry, this is a big, what is it, Protoss force, though. If he can, like, hit another good Disruptor, there certainly is a chance here. Ooh, Scarlett actually, miss micros those Vipers. Good blink there once again by Neeb. He has killed a whole lot of those Vipers. Nicely done there. Without Vipers, his army is not nearly as scary. Zerglings are actually coming up. And the Zerglings are mostly just here to soak up a little bit of damage. You know what? Right now, I'm looking at this battle. This is looking all right here for Neeb. That was close. I feel like this is his one opportunity, though, because soon there's going to be Lurkers out. If he, like, lets go off the gas, there's going to be Lurkers out, and he's got nothing against those. Like, absolutely nothing. I mean, Stalkers are not, you know, good against that. Scarlett currently hitting a bit of a supply block. That's not ideal. Okay, well, this is what I mean. I think Lurkers are going to come up here as soon as these Overlords spawn. There we go. The problem is, as these Lurkers come out, there's nothing that Protoss can really do. This is where Protoss has engaged the death animation. Unless Zerg royally screws up here somewhere, I don't see exactly what he can do. Brilliant player by Scarlett, though. I'm really liking that push. Okay. It's weird to say that Protoss is in trouble when they are securing a 5th base and they're getting +3 and Storm and everything, but maybe I'm wrong. Whoa, 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 what? An Ultralisk Cavern? Huh? Well, I hope that this game goes on for a little bit longer, but Ultras, generally speaking, considered to be the worst unit in this matchup, but here come the Disruptor Balls. Good connection there. Here comes the Zerg, though, coming in from multiple angles. Couple of Storms still available. There we go. Decent Storm does go down, but yeah, there's just way too much. The Swarm is overwhelming this army, and that means that Scarlett is now 2-1 ahead. Alrighty, so here we go. We find ourselves on the map Death Aura. This is match point right now for Scarlett, so if she wins this map, she is going to be the victor of this series. Neeb, of course, in the opposite corner. Playing here with the blue Protoss probes. Once again, sending out one of those bad boys very, very early across the map. I know I tongue-in-cheek said earlier today that you should not do this ever as a Protoss player, but honestly, that was just a little bit of Zerg bias coming in. If you are a Zerg player out there, how much do you hate getting your hatchery blocked at 16 supply? It sucks. So if you're a Protoss, I actually highly recommend you go ahead and incorporate this into every single game. It doesn't matter too much at the pro level. Like, Scarlett knows exactly what you need to do in these kinds of circumstances. But I've seen Zerg players on the ladder absolutely freak out in these kind of scenarios and go for like a pull first. And even though that's like not necessarily bad either, it really, really throws Zerg players on the ladder off of their build. Because essentially, if you can mess with anyone's, you know, comfort zone, it's pretty much always going to be a nice advantage in you know, SC2 games. And obviously, comfort zone in these games for pro gamers is basically all of the early game. It doesn't really matter what kind of strategy they are forced into, but ladder heroes like you and me probably, yeah, we don't feel too comfortable with every single build order out there. So, you know, forcing us in an uncomfortable position is really, really nice. Especially if you go for like some sort of timing attack as a follow-up. So I think going for like the hatchery block over there into an adept push is one of the absolute strongest build orders that you can go for as a Protoss player. Just because, I mean, it's a sharp timing. If Zerg doesn't respond perfectly, they're already going to be in a little bit of trouble. And just by forcing them to take your third base rather than the natural first really, really does suck. Because usually the creep spread is going to be a little bit lackluster in between those bases. You kind of want to be spreading creep in the direction of where the adept push goes from. So, I mean, just a little tip for the Protoss players out there. I feel like I've been putting a lot of attention on the Zerg players so far in this cast, despite the fact that Neeb is going for some really cool builds as well. But yeah, just hatchery block into Glaive to depth push. If you execute it well, I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of people below, I would probably say Master League, that can actually hold that confidently. Maybe in Diamond League you're going to struggle a little bit as well, but I mean, we see games like that all the time at the pro level, and the pro gamers die to it all the time, so the problem is that Zerg doesn't have a lot of wiggle room in those scenarios. But anyways, it is once again going to be a Stargate follow-up, so I think that this is probably Neeb's bread and butter. I like this little bit of positioning here on the structures as well. Death Aura is one of the few maps where you can wall with two structures. So I guess keeping the Cyber Core alive is very critical. This is Neeb already thinking ahead, knowing very well that there might be some Ravagers knocking on his door here later on, or, you know, losing the Cyber Core in general kind of sucks. And there's the second gate at the front, so you're going to need a second gateway anyway. May as well use them as part of the wall-off. Obviously, this is a little bit vulnerable against a Ling Flood, so you got to take it for what it's worth, but yeah. This is what I mean as well, like, if Zerg is comfortably taking their third base and their natural at the correct timing, and they can take it wherever they like, these kind of pushes don't really do very much. Now, obviously, once again, at this level, this is going to be handled really quite well. But, I mean, that's 3 drones going down here, plus additional Zerglings that are forced to be made, right? So, this is forcing Scarlett into a situation that she doesn't necessarily want to be in. Once more, at the pro level, it doesn't really matter too much. She's probably comfortable playing exactly this no matter what happens. But yeah, like on the ladder, not ideal. Not really what you want to be in. Now, this is still a good situation though here for Scarlett. I mean, she defended that. Minimal losses, all things considered. And now she's going to be able to force that Oracle home as well, yeah. Ugh. Shield battery here as a follow-up. Now, good shade there by Neeb. Defends it, but this is a good example of where the best defense is the offense. Forcing this Oracle to turn around. I mean, it's going to allow time right now for these Spore Crawlers. There we go. And that's going to basically defend against this Oracle just fine. With just a handful of Zerglings that were still left over. Once again, though, it's going to be the Void Ray as a follow-up and then into a Robo facility. Obviously, gas is taken already. I would love to see the third base a little bit earlier this time around. So I'm hoping we're going to be seeing that around the 5-minute mark. Yep, there it goes. I feel like that was one of the gaps that we saw in one of the previous games. So this is nice. So this is 450. Third base coming up. Just a standard, straightforward macro game. I'm hoping here for Neeb's sake that he's going to be able to do a little bit of damage there with that Oracle, but I don't know, man. Look at that. Neeb knows very well where she likes to position all of those Ooh. That's not going to do much. But he knows very well where she likes to position those spore crawlers. So he already flew around. 2 adepts once again. Trying to see if they can potentially shade in. There's 3 queens right now though in the natural. So maybe they can get a couple of drones on their way out. Not bad. A little bit of damage. Assuming, well, okay, he's gonna lose them both. Guess that's not really worth it anymore then. I don't know. I feel like whenever a Zerg player can kind of just do what they like, that's really scary. Now, still 7 drones here in total. The problem is that this is 7 drones at the cost of 4 adepts. So it's not quite your conventional 7 drones that have gone down, you know? Once again, a Hydra then comes up. So Scarlett actually is just playing like a Hydra then by default here. Huh. Wait, hold up. Oh, she skipped the Roach Warren entirely this game. There's no Roach Warren anywhere. Much faster 4th base here as well. So definitely a little bit of a deviation there. Well, if that's the case, right? If there's no Roaches and no Ravagers anywhere, I actually would love to see Neeb go for a bit of a timing attack here. There certainly is a potential for this Protoss army here to deal some damage. Hydras are very good, obviously, but the problem is that they need their upgrades before they actually are useful, right? Like, they're especially good on creep. But without their upgrades, they are really, like, significantly weaker. Obviously, they have a speed upgrade and then a ranged upgrade, right? So the one that she's getting right now is the ranged upgrade. But I think this is a sure kill. This is a sure kill on that 4th for sure. Yeah. No way that it's not. There we go. Nicely done there. Little bit of a push. Nothing too significant. Gets a drone as well. Apparently, there was a stasis ward here on the right-hand side. Okay. So. 4 additional gateways. There's the Templar Archives researching the Psionic Storm upgrade. Okay. Already, Infestation Pits coming up. So in the past, she was going for a lot of Swarm Host play. I think she may very well just be going once again into a Hive, into Lurkers. Wouldn't be surprised. She's going very Hydra heavy. Scarlett really does play this game a little bit differently than everyone else. I like it a lot. First big warp in, it seems like, in this entire series. Not quite, actually. There was a warp in as well on, what was it? The Golden Pillar one. But, I mean, these zealots get dealt with just fine. Please move that. Okay, I was gonna say, please move that prism. 4th Nexus. At a reasonable moment. There's the Lurker Den. There's the Hive. So in the past we would see a lot of timing attacks before Brood Lords could come out. Right? And this is kind of what Neeb is going for right now. Brood Lords are really no longer a thing in this matchup right now because they got nerfed pretty hard. Just like all of the other late game Zerg units. Yeah, Lurkers are obviously still a very significant threat. So I would love to see Neeb execute a timing attack before those Lurkers really get well upgraded and well underway in this game. This is both players, though, tiptoeing around each other. Neither really committing to anything. Neeb is on a bit of a timer here. It's not like his push can't work anymore once Lurkers are out. It's just that it's going to be much harder. So I think if he wants, you know, the biggest chance at winning the game, he should probably push before Lurkers are going to be coming out. Which is, well, any moment now. Very good spread here already, though, on the Hydras. I mean, Scarlett is setting up a concave here. Knowing very well that this Protoss army might be coming down the ramp here any moment. Zealots setting themselves up. There's, by the way, the Lurker upgrades. Okay. First storm, missed. Couple of Zealots apparently now running towards the natural as well. That's nice. Zealots here on the right-hand side do charge forward. Not quite getting that much done. I love this little Zealot run by over here because this is forcing a lot of attention away from the main army. Still, though, Neeb not capitalizing on that. Like, I feel like there's an opportunity there, but he's not capitalizing on it. And now here's the problem, right? Yeah, he looked at this. He thought, okay, it's probably not going to happen. So he made the executive decision to just really push with a few Zealots there and just not commit to that fight at all. I feel like there was an opportunity there for the Protoss player to deal critical amounts of damage. Right now, we're going into the late game. The reason why I'm a little hesitant here for the Protoss at this point is that it's very difficult for a Protoss to take a 5th on this map. So there's 4 bases, which is really all you need if you want to max out on Skytles, but Zerg is going to be able to do whatever they like, right? And there's a very nice little base over here that's going to give you a really nice economy. So there's the Lurkers. They have their ranged upgrade. I mean, that base will certainly be cancelled. But as soon as you leave, that base is going to be remade as well. Okay. Protoss is pretty much maxed out though. A little bit of a Hydra skirmish over here on the left. Making sure that there's no real engagement coming in from this area. Lurkers here. Move on to over. Once again, I love the Zealot run base. I gotta hand that to Neeb. I think he's doing that really nicely. This is an absolute nuisance to play with. Or to play against. But I mean, this is dealing damage right now, yeah. Not going for any of the outer bases either, yeah. So there's spine crawlers in the most obvious locations where you normally see those Zealots going. Sending them to the natural, though, is relatively uncommon, and that now killed 14 drones. These Zealots over here will probably not achieve nearly as much, but this is still nice. Carriers are coming up, Dark Shrine is coming up as well, but this is still 4-base Protoss. I would have liked this approach better here from Neeb if he had a 5th base. But how is he going to get that on this map? I don't see where he's going to be getting that. Spire's coming up. Big Zerg run by once again, it looks like, towards the 3rd base, maybe. Neeb is doing some really nice maneuvering, though. Constantly pushing that creep back, right? I mean, the creep was pretty much everywhere earlier. Right now, it's not nearly as scary anymore. The only problem with having your army out in the middle of the map is that if the Zerg manages to siege up on this ramp, this becomes a very difficult position to break. 3 carriers are just about to pop out, so that's nice. Hydra's obviously decent in this scenario. Scarlett obviously committing a large army here as well. So this is not an army you can just throw away. If carriers can clean all of this up, that would be fantastic. Good storm there from the low ground. Lowering a lot of the hit points there on one of those Lurkers. Is there going to be enough right now for Neeb to break this? I think there will probably be. Archons and Immortals, super tanky, but still so many of those units are lost. And you know what? Like, even if you clean this up, Zerg is still happily macroing off of 80 plus workers, right? Yeah, so Scarlett right now runs here. She decides to get on out of there. Can Protoss capitalize on this? No. Can he really push here with carriers that are still making interceptors? Not really. So now that high yield base is going to be retaken. The base here on the left hand side is going to be retaken as well. Man, these top level Zerg players make Zerg look so ridiculously good. I feel like a toddler sometimes playing this game, man. Like, all these units have like 5 hit points. They all die if you make one tiny little mistake, and then it's game over. But if you don't make mistakes, turns out Zerg is really freaking strong. Beautiful play here by Scarlett. Yeah, this is turning out to be a bit of a desperation right now for Neeb. I mean, one way of dealing with the Lurkers is just to make units that fly, so that way you don't have to deal with them anymore. But at that point, I mean, it's difficult to make that transition, right? And while we're in that transitional period here, Neeb desperately trying to get some of those big flying things out. He's just losing, right? He's just not getting it done. There we go. Scarlett obtains the victory in this best-of-5 series in a 3-1 fashion. Really well played by her. I hope you enjoyed watching it. If you did, hit that like button down below. If you want to see more, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get notified as soon as future videos go live. For now, though, I very much want to thank you for watching. Have an amazing day. Don't forget to smile, and I'll see you once again in the next one.